Welcome to the annual goal setting and regular meeting Monday, July 21st, 2025. I'd like to call to order the public meeting. North Hunterdon-Voorhees Regional High School District Board of Education meeting on Monday, July 21st, 2025 is now called to order. In accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 1046, adequate notice giving the time, date, location, and to the extent known, the agenda of this meeting was published by the Star Ledger on June 16, 2025. In addition, notice of this meeting has been posted at the North Hunterdon High School and Voorhees High School, provided to the municipal clerks of Bethlehem Township, California Borough, Town of Clinton, Clinton Township, Franklin Township, Glen Gardner Borough, Hampton Borough, Highbridge Borough, Lebanon Township, Tewksbury Township, and Union Township, as well as other interested parties, and posted on the district website. Fire exits are located in the directions indicated. If alerted to fire, please move in a calm and orderly fashion to the nearest smoke-free exit. Restrooms are located through the doors just behind me, and to the right as indicated. At this time, please silence all cell phones. Roll call, please.
Christina Cagno.
Here.
Brian Chapman. Here. Angela Dini. Nicole Gallo.
Here.
Tara Marie Hintz.
Here.
Beth Cotron.
Here.
Rich Lorde.
Here.
Brendan McIsaac.
Here.
Cynthia Reyes.
Here.
Kimberly Salino.
Here.
Daniel Spanton.
Here.
And Jessica Vallota.
Here.
You have quorum.
Thank you. Can we rise for the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can I have a motion and second to approve 4.1, 4.2, which would be the minutes of June 19th and June 24th, the special meeting and regular meeting?
So moved. Second.
Was that?
Was that,
Thank you.
I guess, Nicole?
You get that.
You get the next one. You get the next one.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions?
I need to abstain from 4.1.
As do I, from
Okay.
4.1. I was
And
not
I
at
need
that
to
meeting.
abstain from 1 and 2.
So Tara was both,
Okay.
and Jessica and Brendan were 4.1.
Yes.
Thank you. All set? Great. At this time, we'd like to welcome Gwen Thornton from New Jersey School Board. She is our intern field rep. We welcome her. She is going to do our presentation for board goal setting. Welcome, Gwen.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be back. Felt like I never left. No. I am delighted to be back. I am delighted to be back. And so I believe that you all have seen and received a copy of the board self-evaluation. Congratulations, all of you completed it. I know it was a little bit of a technological struggle for a couple of folks, but we were able to get through that, which is delightful. And so I'm here tonight to talk really about board goals. And this is my favorite piece around goals, and I'm sure you recognize them. Forgive their slump, but I actually do remember watching him play as a child. I was really little, of course, but Yogi Bear. So if you don't plan, you're going to end up somewhere you may not want to be, right? So it really is important to have board goals around how you can be more effective as a Board of Education in the processes that you use. And there is that overlap because essentially your part of your role is to support the district goals as a Board of Education and to ensure that you are supporting your administration in moving those district goals forward. But this really does look at how you operate and how you function and how you can be more effective in the kinds of things that you do as a Board of Education. So I always include your mission statement, which is your reason to exist. I think it's important to keep that at the heart of everything that you do. And I know that you are, and I could tell from reading your self-evaluation, that all of you are truly committed to advancing
educational opportunities for all students in your school district, which is critically important, especially at the rate of change that we live with in our society, and making sure that you've prepared them for the world ahead as best we can, since we don't obviously know what that's always going to look like moving forward. AI, the rate of technology, a whole host of reasons why. So keeping that at the center of what you do. So talking about board goals, why do you set them? And thinking about that around policy development, as you know, by definition, one of your major responsibilities is to develop policy that provides a roadmap for your students, your staff, your community members, the Board of Education, and your bylaws. You are, by definition, a policy-making body. It's one of your most critically important functions. Your oversight and monitoring through the budget development and approval, through looking at how you maintain the fiscal efficiency of the school district, the superintendent's evaluation in terms of providing a qualitative way of looking at that process, ensuring that you are providing a comprehensive curriculum and instructional program. I would also add to that a co-curricular program, which for a lot of students is the reason they can focus on the curriculum, right? It can be as important. Communications, both internally and externally, as a Board of Education among and between yourselves, but also with the broader community. And of course, because you are a regional board with 12 or 13 sending districts, it's even more challenging to make sure you are able to do that effectively, because you come from so many different communities at the high school level. So enhancing your governance skills and your performance, making sure that you are effective so that the time you spend in your board meetings are focused around student achievement, that you keep students at the heart of every decision that you make, and lead with that. Also around thinking about what professional development you may want to add to the work that you do. I recognize that you are all volunteers and give up your time. I was a board member back in the days when dinosaurs roamed the earth, and so I do recognize that you have both personal and professional commitments, but this is also a commitment, and it's one that is really worthy of taking the time to do well. And then supporting, as we said in the beginning, your administration in achieving those district goals, so that you can continue to move forward for your kids. And I'm amazed at the size of the building since the last time I was here. That is incredible. The tech school, it's come a long way in a year and a half or so. These are your board goals from last year, providing support for board members on the strategic planning process, reviewing and revising your bylaws to reflect current practices as necessary, holding a meeting to develop and implement board norms, and again, holding yourselves to 2 virtual professional development opportunities individually that may meet your specific needs, especially since you operate by committee. You are able to do that around some of the things. And we offer, of course, a myriad of those virtual opportunities. So when you think about what goals you want to have, next year, what are the kinds of goals that will help you to be laser focused on the needs of the boards? They may come from your strategic planning goals, maybe not. I know you've completed that process, which is wonderful, so you can check that off your box as completed from your board goals this past year. It may come out of your board self-evaluation. You may want to carry over one from the previous year, and I would suggest that it's probably appropriate to carry over the board goal around setting board norms. I would strongly encourage you to think about doing that in the 25-26 year, since you did not have an opportunity to do that this past year. Okay? Once you have decided what goals you want to have for next year, action plans should be developed by the board, and they should be reviewed quarterly so that you know that you are making progress on those goals. A goal without a plan is nothing but a wish. Right? We can all say, here's my goal. We all set them in January, and by February 1st, who can remember them? You don't want to be in that position. You want to make sure that if these are the goals that you wish to achieve, that you are getting updates on them. They also help to communicate to your students and to your community that you are working toward a particular goal. And I think that's very helpful in building credibility with your communities at large. Okay? So in thinking about next year, I know you may have some thoughts from your self-eval. I looked at it and reviewed it. The area that you identified is having the greatest need was around governance, teams, relationships, and accountability. So I think those were a couple of things that you identified. Norms came up several times, which is why I was suggesting carrying that goal forward for 2025-26. Also, there were several mentions about perhaps building bridges, learning to have those discussions across difference. And I think that that might be a critically important topic for you all to think about as well. Having civil conversations around how do we bridge those differences that may exist among and between board members so that you can be more effective in the time that you are spending at your board meetings. And I may want to suggest that. So also, some of you mentioned the committee system versus committee of the whole. Maybe that's something you want to explore. Maybe not, but it was mentioned a couple of times by several board members in their comments around the self-evaluation. But I would certainly look to you for your suggestions as to which goals you would like to pursue for 2025-26. Brendan.
A clarifying question. When you were talking about, I guess I'm
Trying to understand setting norms versus building bridges. Would one not be inclusive of the other, or is it sort of a separate kind of training that you're talking about?
I think it's a separate kind of training. I think it includes exploring communication skills, the art of listening, and norms are about here's how we agree to operate all the time, before a meeting, during a meeting, and after a meeting. Here's how we're going to communicate with each other. Here are the kinds of things that we should be doing. So before a meeting, making sure as a norm that you're notifying the board president if you can't be present at a committee meeting, or whatever those norms are for your board. They look differently in different districts, but really they're not exactly the same. Hopefully your norms reflect that you were able to dialogue across difference, but I also think perhaps it might be valuable to have that as a separate goal.
So one of the things that resonated with me was this idea that we could hone up get better understanding of execution of Robert's rules of order. Would that just kind of fall in? I mean, the board norm could be we operate under those principles, but then we don't really know them that well.
Right, so you could put that as part of a goal that says undertake professional development and then identify what specific professional development would be beneficial, and Robert's Rules of Order would be certainly something, that we could come out and train on.
Access to a parliamentarian. I don't know, through our attorney. Does anyone know what a parliamentarian is other than me?
I do.
Do you have one at your office?
I am one at many board meetings.
Okay, so
I serve as a parliamentarian.
we've been without one for a long time.
And in most districts, the board attorney does, and I can attest that Phil does know how to do that. I've known Phil for years and years. And typically the business administrator and or the board attorney in most districts operates as the parliamentarian.
So if I were to advocate for more than just having someone here, more than just one day of 1 hour of training, it seems like it's going to, there's a lot to it, and you might need, quarterly or something. Is that getting too much in the weeds for a goal?
No, I don't believe so. Most boards use Robert's Rules of Order in a pretty simplistic way and that allows you to be effective. Now you can get down in the weeds and talk about all kinds of how to rescind versus how there are all kinds of things that you can do, but most boards don't use it at that level. But certainly we can go through them so that you understand them and understand how to use them or misuse them as the case may be, because some boards who become expert in it sometimes use it to stymie progress as opposed to make progress. So you need to be aware of that, because that's one of the kinds of downsides to it that exist.
And I like to be very forthright about that. And I can teach you how to use it and how to misuse it. But I think it's important. And you probably even have it in your bylaws already that you operate under Robert's Rules of Order, I would suspect. So having a working knowledge of that would probably be very helpful. Brendan.
Having recently completed the
Strategic plan, and the communications committee tonight has as the report sort of the first piece of information from that. I guess as we shift from checking the box of doing the plan to moving towards really and hopefully robustly supporting the plan, particularly around the area of the goals that are coming from the plan and how we're sort of measuring and tracking those things, what would potentially be a goal in that direction that doesn't say like, okay, it's done, moving on, but rather really making that part of our process and work going forward?
Well, typically you're going to use your strategic plan. You should be able to pull your annual district goals from your strategic plan. And your superintendent, excuse me, and the administrative team will develop action plans to implement the particular part of the strategic, because you can't do a strategic plan all in 1 year, right? So it's a multi-year plan, and so typically boards will, in collaboration with your administration, pull your annual district goals from the strategic plan. Your administration will then develop action plans as to what's going to occur in that particular goal area or that facet of a goal in a given year. And then, again, your administration should be providing you with quarterly updates as a Board of Education around, here's where we are, here are the steps we've accomplished so far, here are the things that are mitigating against us finishing it, or, for example, during COVID, during Hurricane Sandy, people had strategic plans that went whoosh for the whole year because they needed to get their kids back into school, because you had to go virtual overnight. So sometimes, you don't always get to the end point you wish to, but at least having a sense of where you are, what's been accomplished. And so I think the way the board can support the strategic plan is through the work in the committees, because I'm certain there's probably facilities implications to your strategic plan. There are curriculum and instructional pieces to your strategic plan. There are probably mental health components. I mean, there are myriad, and they may be in different parts that go with the committees that you have. So within your committees, you will be working on, it should drive the work of your committees, the goals that you have as a district across the year. That's what you should be working on. And then having those reports, and then I think annually, when you do your district goal setting, to get an update on, okay, here's what we've accomplished over the course of the year in the strategic plan. It also helps your community to understand they approved the board's approved it, they've participated in it. You can't invite the public in, ask them what they think, and then ignore them. That is a recipe for disaster. So you want to be able to communicate to your public, you live stream your meetings. They should be able to see what you've done over the course of the year to move the district closer to completing the goals for the year and ultimately the strategic plan, and talking about it enough. You should make sure that you are funding whatever the goals are in terms of your budget to provide support. Again, there are going to be costs. Some goals in strategic plan may have component pieces that have low cost and high impact. Other ones are going to have high cost and may have to be spread out over multiple years in order to achieve them. So, making sure that you are budgeting around those goals and to provide support, whether it's personnel, whether it's facilities, whatever it happens to be driven by, making sure that you do that on an annual basis is important as well.
And I guess what I'm
Maybe trying to understand or given all the dimensions of that you just outlined, that I'm just wondering, is there a dimension of a goal there in terms of, really doing that work with fidelity in the ways that it guides all of those things versus kind of slipping into business as usual, and then, a quarterly report or something like that?
Well, I think it would be helpful. I mean, I haven't seen it, so I don't know, and I don't know what your annual goals are. But I think identifying within your strategic plan the annual goals you're going to pull from it, and then assigning those to a committee
to drive the work of your committees would be the most effective way to accomplish that. And I'm not sure that raises to the level of a board goal, but I think from an organizational perspective, as a way of looking at the work, that makes the most sense in moving it forward.
One of the thoughts I had around this, Brendan, was that we could, as a board, decide that every meeting we're going to touch on this somehow, right? Like in public session, like when we talk about it, it takes, to me, gets at something about the vision, mission piece of the self-evaluation that we were kind of low on, and the community engagement that we were kind of low on.
Yeah.
And maybe it's goals, annual goals, the district annual goals, but maybe it's the pillars. I was thinking, the pillars that we set out, we can have a discussion, on, pillar 1, pillar 2, pillar 3, pillar 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or, just make a goal that we're going to talk about it. The aspects of the district goal, strategic plan in some way or fashion.
Can we align the plan and the pillars of the plan, like you said, to committees where that can be one of their touch points in the committee meetings, so that it can be reported out from the committee meetings, perhaps?
Instead of a new line item, it's just...
Yeah, just not as something new for the meeting, but just an update that the committee chair provides to the pillar of the strategic plan that aligns with that committee. Does that make sense?
I've seen.
I mean, we don't know what the strategic plan is yet.
Right, yeah.
So that's where we're challenged.
I have seen it done a number of different ways. Some districts create a live
Dashboard that can be updated as you move forward, so that you can see completion using a dashboard, which is a great visual. I've also seen in districts, and your superintendent's not going to like this, where actually, and probably your business administrator even less, where they have attached to every motion what goal it supports.
I know Rich has been doing that in his weekly report. He's been aligning the things that he talks about and replies and gives us updates on to his personal goals, or district goals. Well, you own the district goal, but yeah.
And I think it's nice on the agenda, because I think it helps you all,
As you're going through the agenda and voting, to see what it is and helps your public to understand how you are supporting the progress that needs to be made, right? Because you've now tied it to a very specific piece, and I think that that's really important. It's really easy to go through a full agenda and not even recognize that you're doing that, right? And it's a way of keeping that at the forefront of your work, and that's something that you might want to consider as well.
Just a question on the live dashboard that you were mentioning. Is that something that, where you've seen it, it's live to the public, or live just to the board?
no, live to the public.
Yeah.
Live to the public on the district website, so that you can actually see the progress that's being made. And I think that that's a really helpful communications tool. I don't have the technological skills to be able to do that, but I know that people have done it, and it really has worked, and I think it's very effective, especially in a district as large as this. And by large, I mean that encompasses so many different communities.
That it's a very visible way of saying, here's what we're working on, here's the progress we're making. And I think that's helpful.
Do you recall a district that we might be able to look at? If not, I'll do a search.
You have to do a search. I don't really remember off the top of my head.
It'll be out there.
But it is out there. More than one
One district does it.
Fabulous. Thank you.
So are we trying to set the board goals today? Because my only hesitation is that I think there is a desire to kind of look at what the strategic plan is, right? And then align the goals to the plan, at least for what we're doing this coming year. So how does that work from a
If we
timing
look at our
standpoint?
board goals, can we look at our board goals from last year again, Gwen?
Sure.
And then you also have to consider that we're missing one tonight, too.
I know.
We're missing
I
Angela.
agree. Yeah, I agree, yeah.
But
That wasn't the plan. So
Okay, good.
Rich and I, we have been discussing this.
Yeah.
with the strategic plan rollout information, Rich wants the opportunity to share the district goals. And we have board members out. We want to digest this, have the presentation. We just got our evaluation. It's a lot to encompass and we need time to digest. I think it's a good brainstorming right now, coming up with what do we want to see? What are we going to carry over? What are we, what's new? And then we can next month finalize those.
Right.
Sounds good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do like that idea.
Yeah.
I forgot my question, Gwen.
It'll come to you.
It'll come back to me at the oddest time, but
I think the last piece on professional development is still
there's something.
current and needed.
I do, but I would encourage you to do it as a board rather than individually. I
Okay.
think the most effective boards are boards that learn together. And while I applaud you for doing it individually and not suggesting you stop doing that, please continue to do that. It's what keeps us busy. You think I'm kidding? I think it's equally as important for the board to learn together.
How do you see that? Where we're all attending something? at
Yes,
the
I
same
do.
time?
I do, the full 14. And I know it's a lot, and I know it's a lot to ask, but you can do it for an hour before a regular board meeting, just like this. And I know it's a struggle because you probably all didn't get to eat, and I'm really sorry about that. I'll bring cookies. I don't want you being hungry. But I think it's important. I really genuinely do. I genuinely do. So those are just a couple of the things that, when I looked at your self-evaluation, those were the couple of areas that stuck out to me that might be most valuable for you to work on. Okay.
But if I'm understanding that
Correctly, Gwen, you're sort of saying that training could be something that we then reach out and coordinate to have as part of our regular meeting schedule anyway,
Exactly.
when there's consensus around a need or a topic or something.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Happy to do that. That's what we're here for.
And then, and Jess, I don't know if this is going to help you remember your question, but kind of going back to a little bit of what Brian and Christina were saying, and maybe Tara and Beth as well, this idea of communication, I feel like, is something that has come up in a lot of places, both in our self-evaluation and through the strategic plan, sort of the recognized need for more of it. And I'm feeling as though some of the things that you're suggesting, from dashboards to the labeling of motions, to Brian's point about, ensuring that our committee is sort of organized around those things. I guess I do see that as a way of sort of keeping the plan focused and in the spotlight, but in a communicative way. And I know as part of the community relations, we were talking a little bit more around the new district newsletter from this past year and the opportunity for the board to have even a place there to sort of communicate and update those things as well. So I see the potential for a very multifaceted approach to that.
And I think you can never over-communicate. Period. Ever. We just have to continue to work on that. We're never going to be perfect. No one ever is. Even people have, hundreds of people that work in large corporations around communications. They stumble too. And you're all volunteers. It's a much different piece, but you cannot over-communicate. Because it really is, it's so easy. The state average was, and I'd have to go check the numbers again, but in most communities, the average percentage of people that have children in your district, and especially because you're a limited purpose regional, it's even probably less, is 20%. So 80% of the populations in your community don't necessarily touch the school in any fashion. So making sure that you're getting the word out not only to parents, but also to those community members whose support you really do need for your district. Because we live in a time when, there's all kinds of uncertainty. We're going to have a brand new legislature come fall, a new governor. The Department of Education is being dismantled apparently. And I'm not commenting one way or the other, but COVID money has dried up. I don't see things as financially getting easier for districts. And so ensuring that you are communicating with your communities as effectively as you can
all the time is critically important because you're going to need their support moving forward. Every school district across the state, uniformly, no matter how big, no matter how small, that's going to be something that you're all going to have to continue to work with and deal with. So thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure always to see all of you. I hope the rest of your summer is peaceful and quiet. I look forward to seeing you at workshop in October, if not before, but I hope to see many of you before that. If you need anything, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm on the website. If you don't know how to get me, I'm there. My phone number, you're always welcome to call or email. I will always get back to you. So,
Thank you so much.
all right, thank you. All right.
Have a good night.
Thank you. So I clicked Edison, Ramsey, and Willingboro. The dashboards are amazing. We need to look at these.
What was that, Edison?
Edison Township, Ramsey, and Willingboro has great ones. Edison is the Vision 2030. Ramsey says roadmap to 2029. And then they have the school emblem where yellow means they're here and completing the goal and really user friendly. So we really should look at this. I know there'll be a cost, but
There might be a program though, if it can actually be
Yeah,
ran
we're
here,
a
we can use our
vendor.
technology.
yeah. But yeah, these are great.
Students,
So
too.
this will, once we get it in place, then the public, we can, and everything that's done can be reported through here to keep everyone abreast.
We have some great in-house talent as well.
That's what I
so-
said. He's hiding.
Tara, that was
I would
Edison,
imagine we
Ramsey,
have some
and
students who have
That's what I
some
just
really
said. Yeah,
mad
students,
programming
so
skills too.
Willingboro down South Jersey.
Might be even a project that we can use, Rich, in the curriculum in the technology classes too. Possibly.
Yeah, we can look at that, if we want something to be done quickly though now, maybe the maintenance of that is
Maybe the
probably a better
maintenance,
help.
that's a good point.
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you to Gwen. Thank you for,
Kim, real
Yes.
quick, before we get off the topic,
Yeah.
do we have a meeting scheduled to develop board norms yet?
no.
Okay.
So there was nothing from that, and these goals, mind you, were last year's goals.
Right.
And we didn't, as you know, we did not even complete a board self-evaluation. Half the board did it, half the board didn't, and we never had a final compilation. So this is the first time in 2 years that we've had a board self-evaluation.
It didn't happen last year?
It didn't happen last year or the year before.
And why is that?
They just didn't get completed.
Well, what was the reason?
It's actually not required.
It's not mandated, it's a best practice.
But I think we were also dealing with superintendent, a lot of things.
Changes, there was a lot of things going on, but it's something that, even though it's not mandated, we don't have to check a box. It's something that a tool for us, a skill for us to communicate, and we learn about the board. And this, if you went through this self-eval, it was very informative. And I think we all of us spoke similarly. So that was the commonality, so.
Great.
Sure.
Great.
At this time, we would like Richard Broden to step forward and join us. Rich is going to present on the 2025 NJPA results and the access for ELLS results. Rich, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everybody. So, as you heard, I'm here to present two different results of two different state tests. First off, the NJGPA, which is the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment. So this is the assessment that all juniors take in March of their junior year. It does help to determine whether or not students are eligible to graduate. There is an ELA component, there is a math component, and the ELA is based on grade 10 standards, and the math is based on Algebra 1 and geometry standards. So students who take but do not meet the minimum score, which is 725 on each component, do have additional opportunities and receive additional supports. So they can retake the ELA and or math component, whichever one they didn't pass. And that's in the summer and then again in the fall. So actually starting today is the summer administration for this. So we had some students in the building today retaking the NJGPA, or in some cases taking it for the first time. There will also be an administration in October for that. They also have the opportunity to demonstrate proficiency through a menu of substitute competency tests, such as the PSAT or SAT, or finally, if needed, they can complete a portfolio appeal. And I'll talk about some of those at the end of the presentation. So usually I always preface the conversations by saying that these scores do not include the results from students in the academy and full-time Polytech programs. Based on our discussions from a previous presentation, I have included both. There's the one column that's labeled the official results, which do not include those students, and then there's the unofficial, which do include those students, so we can see the impact that that has on our results as well. So these are the official results, and it shows, first off, in the left-hand column, the percentage of students who are, there's only two different proficiency bands for the NJ GPA. There's graduation ready or not yet graduation ready. So on the left-hand side, we have the graduation ready from 24, and then next to that, the graduation ready percentage for 25. So you can see that the official results are that 92.7% of our students were graduation ready in ELA, which is an increase from last year of 1.3%. And in mathematics, 77.4% of our students were considered graduation ready this year, which is an increase of 5.7%. So at this point, I add in the academy students as well, so it bumps it up for ELA to 93.5% and to 78.7% for math. And I also include at this point the state numbers, so 80.7% of the students across the state were considered graduation ready in ELA and 58% across the state in mathematics. So as you can see, we are much higher than the state averages in both categories. At this point, this is all that we know. We know how we did. We know how the state overall did. In a few months, we will get the results from all of the schools, and then we'll be able to take a look at the other schools that we typically compare ourselves to. But at this point, we just know how we did and how the overall state numbers were. Now, before we go into the individual schools, I want to take you back in time a couple of years. So this class of 2026, if you remember, when we looked at their NJSLA scores when they were in 9th grade, Voorhees was abnormally high and North was abnormally low, to the point where for ELA, Voorhees was 85% proficient and North Hunterdon students were 55% proficient. We had never seen a gap that large between the two schools before. Well, I'm happy to report that over the 2 years since they took that assessment, that gap has shrunk considerably. Still have extremely high scores at Voorhees, but the North schools scores are also very high. So I'll look at the unofficial where we include all of our students. 90.2% of the students at North Hunterdon were considered graduation ready, and 98.6% of students at Voorhees were considered graduation ready. So that 30-point gap in 2023 narrowed down to about 8.5 percentage points, which is truly remarkable. I mean, it's amazing that we were able to get that close to each other after those 2 years.
It is a different test, excuse me.
It's a different test. Same students.
Similar.
Yeah, it's the same
content.
platform and similar. So technically the NJSLA is based on the ELA 9 standards. This is based on the ELA 10 standards. Honestly, the 9 and 10 standards are exactly the same, so I don't know how they differentiate, because the standards, it's a band. 9 and 10 is one band, and 11 and 12 is the other band. So they're pulling from the same bank of questions for these assessments. The only difference in ELA is that, and Brendan, correct me if I'm wrong, but on the ELA, on the NJSLA, it is the narrative writing that the students do, but on the NJ GPA, it is the literary analysis that the students do. So. But otherwise, the test is essentially the same.
I actually have another question too. The common assessments that were implemented, the juniors that will take the NJ GPA will be the freshmen that have had, I shouldn't say freshmen, are the students that will have received the common assessments all the way through, right?
Yes.
So should we see, hopefully, any greater increase with those scores after the juniors take these exams?
That would be nice.
Right? I mean, that's what the hope is, right?
It is.
Right? I mean, that's...
Just that these are really high to begin with,
No,
but
I know,
yes,
I
yes.
know. But even like on the it would seem that that was really the purpose, was to try to get everybody level set so that when they're taking this exam, we would see an improvement, right?
It is, yes. And that common assessment is supposed to guide our instruction, so we
Right.
can make sure if we see gaps, we're filling those,
Yeah.
make sure students are better prepared. So,
Okay, okay, so we really interesting to see this time next year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. So as always.
I got a quick question.
Oh, sure.
Sorry.
That's
So
okay.
on both the unofficial, the official and the unofficial at North, if I'm reading this right, so the graduation ready 2024 versus the graduation ready 2025, both ticked down slightly.
Correct, yes,
Correct? Whereas Voorhees went up significantly.
yes.
And is there any,
That's why I gave the comparison in 2023 when
Yeah.
the class were freshmen, that was the same pattern before, that the class of 2026 throughout, in ninth grade and then again in 11th grade, they've been abnormally low in North and abnormally high at Voorhees, just that particular cohort of students going
Yeah.
through the system. But, from where they were in freshman year to where they are junior year, we're kind of happy with just that slight dip. I mean, obviously, you want it to increase.
I understand what
Yes.
you're saying, right.
But looking at the historical
Where it
data
was.
from where they were,
Right.
yes.
And I guess the same applies to the not yet graduation ready. North is showing an uptick in both official and unofficial, whereas Voorhees is went down significantly.
Yeah, and it's just those two bands. That's
Yeah.
the only way that they report it.
Yeah.
So one of the ways that we look at this information is we publicly report the information for subgroups that have 10 or more students. And we have both the 24 and the 25 results, so we can see the comparisons over the 2 years. The students with disabilities, that was around 60% or so. Outside of students with disabilities, every other subgroup that we're reporting had at least 90% proficiency rate on the ELA portion, which I've never seen before. I mean, it's really remarkable how consistent it was across the board with students. So like we did with ELA, with math, looking back to 2023, it was almost double. The proficiency rate for Algebra 1 when they were freshmen was almost double that of North Hunterdon, where the students at North Hunterdon were at 23%, and students at Voorhees were at 44%. The geometry was a little, closer, 72% at North Hunterdon, Voorhees 64% proficient at that point. So again, these numbers got much closer as well, with North Hunterdon, 74% of the students graduation ready, looking at all of the students, and almost 86% of the students at Voorhees being graduation ready for mathematics. So, again, it was double at Voorhees. Voorhees was 2 times the percentage of students were proficient at Voorhees than in North Hunterdon for Algebra 1. So, closing that gap again. And you can see the comparisons where both schools did increase from where they were in 2024 with the mathematics section. Again, looking at the subgroups, and we can see our students with disabilities struggling, and our Asian students with the highest percentage of students who were proficient or graduation ready on this assessment. But again, we see the comparison from 2024 to 2025, and again, we report the students who had at least 10 or more students in each subgroup. So as far as the achievements, as you saw, the percentage of students who are graduation ready, well above the state average for both ELA and math. And then the overall district-wide percentage of students who are graduation ready increased from 2024 for both ELA and math. And for students who are struggling throughout the year, we do have workshop classes to give students that extra support. We obviously have our resource rooms, which are housed throughout the day with teachers in that subject area that if students have a study hall, they can go to for extra help. And then obviously we always have from 2:30 to 3:10 where teachers are available for extra help as well. We are continuing to have our online tutoring program for the 25-26 school year. And for students who are not meeting the standards in their courses, we have our response to intervention program, where a team of people, including the students and the parents, work together to identify some interventions that can help the students be successful. And just to reiterate, for students who have not yet demonstrated proficiency based on this assessment, there's the summer administration There's the fall administration, and obviously they're getting support throughout, not just giving them the test, but also they're in a workshop class to help them learn those skills to be successful on it. They will also have the opportunity to take the PSAT in October. We administer the AccuPlacer as needed. That's a test that we can give multiple times and get immediate feedback. And then finally, if needed, they will complete a portfolio assessment that we submit to the state for final approval. Do you have, I think that's the final slide for this presentation.
The workshop classes occur in the summer if they're taking this in July?
No, they do not. So for the summer remediation, they're using the online tutoring program. Yes.
Have you seen a difference between the online in relevance to the in-person?
Well, yeah, it's definitely more effective in person, but it's also, the online is only if they choose to utilize that platform. So, yes.
So it's not a requirement?
It's not a
to sign
requirement,
in,
no,
right?
no, yes.
So you mentioned that as the data comes in, you take this and compare it to your similar set of schools, correct? Okay, once you have that, is that something that you then come back and share?
What we've done is to go over that in committee.
Okay.
So that's typically what we do when those results come out. Any other questions about the NJGPA?
Rich, I can't remember if in the committee, regarding the students with disabilities, given that that can encompass a range of students, from students who might be exempt to alternative assessments to in-class support and everything along those lines. Do you get a better sense of identifying those students who your different measures are working for or targeting? And for the student, would those students be taking all the same common assessments also, or does that vary depending on program as well?
Depending on program, for the most part, they are, if they're in a pull-out class, they are taking a modified version of that common assessment as well. But that's one of the, as the changes that we made with our Director of Special Education and also Director of Curriculum for Special Education. There's just some things that we really want to dig into because we do get the data file to take a look at those too.
Just following up on that though, so I was looking at what the ELA scores were, which, again, for students with disabilities, which are, they're good, and there's always room for improvement. But if you look at the math, it's significantly less. So is it that, and I'm not trying to say this about are the types of questions and the type of math that's on the NJGPA very different from the math that we're teaching the students with disabilities, such that there's just no way they're going to be able to take the mathematics portion and be successful?
Well, whether or not it's different is, the issue is that there are a lot of students who have a math disability.
Right, of course.
So you modify the instruction as appropriate for those students, and you do the best that you can to get them prepared for it. But if they have a math disability, it's something that they're definitely going to struggle with.
But they're still required. So how does that work if we're trying to get students with disabilities, if it's a math disability, for example, to pass the NJGPA requirements? How do we do that?
It's a lot of individualized instruction.
Okay.
And working with students, and a lot of students who are in that situation, that's why the portfolio process is so much more effective, because what you can do throughout that process is work directly with your teacher and take you through those steps, and you can, there's certain prompts that we have to take the students through to be successful on it, but we can modify those as the practice to go through the instruction and take them through, okay, this is how you solve this problem, and you go through these steps, and then complete the performance task that demonstrates proficiency. So it's much more individualized and working with the teacher throughout that process.
Okay. And is the students, and I'm not sure, because you also have students with 504 plans,
Yes.
which is different,
It is.
right? Are the students with disabilities students with an IEP?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Rich, I sort of recall, well, I have one question and then one recollection. The question is, the students with disabilities who have accommodations in both their instructional program and then by extension during the assessment itself. Do you have data that reveals the extent to which they are accessing those accommodations? And I feel like this sort of connects to something that might have come up in committee once before, but I think it was about the common assessments and your ability to even identify the amount of time spent per item by students. I thought I recalled there being a trend that among some of the students with disabilities, you would see very quick progress through the assessment. In other words, potentially not even spending ample time on items and just moving through the assessment very quickly.
Yes, and this isn't really addressing the students with disabilities part of it, but we can see, we can see individually, for each individual student, how much time they spend on each unit of the test. And typically what we see is the higher the level, the more time students spend on the assessment, yes.
So I guess it sort of opens up a question, and this I think gets back to Beth's point a little bit. Obviously, students have accommodations, and I mean, one of the challenges is how do you get students to avail themselves of the accommodations that they're afforded to the extent that it puts them in the best position to be successful with the assessment. And I don't know how much of that is, a point of specific knowledge versus more of a habit of perseverance or sticking with difficult, challenging material, which may not be rectified just by virtue of common assessments being common, but rather sort of a whole other set of sort of, just comfort skills and sort of stamina with those kinds of things, which I realize is potentially a very different challenge from straight math instruction.
And that's definitely something that Jen and her team work diligently on. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Any other questions with the NJGPA? Okay, well, this second one is the first time I'm presenting this. This is the Access for ELLs assessment. So Access for ELLs is an acronym that stands for Assessing Comprehension and Communication in English State to State for English Language Learners. What we used to call English language learners, most states now call multilingual learners, so you'll hear me refer to students as MLs throughout this presentation. But New Jersey is part of a consortium with 42 states and the District of Columbia that administer this assessment, the Access for ELLs assessment, and it's given to students kindergarten through 12th grade. There is a separate test for kindergarten. I forget the grade bands for all of them, but then there's a separate test for 9 through 12. So all of our students obviously take the 9 through 12 assessment. And our students take it during the testing window, which was February and March. So the purpose of this assessment is to monitor student progress in English language proficiency on a yearly basis and to serve as just one of the many criteria that educators consider as they determine whether English learners have attained an English language proficiency level that will allow them to meaningfully participate in English language classroom instruction without additional language support. So I know that that's a mouthful, but I wanted to read it that way because it's important to understand that the goal for this assessment is to find out whether or not they still need to remain in the program. Because obviously the goal is to get students into a general education course and with their peers and everything. So this is one of the criteria to see whether or not they are eligible or able to be successful without this program. It's an online assessment. It obviously measures academic English language proficiency. And the most important, I'm going to give you the district-wide results for this assessment, but the most useful information is for the individual student. The teachers get this information, as soon as we get back to school, the teachers will get the student report for the students that they have so that they can see where students are with their speaking, listening, reading, and those kinds of things. And obviously we use these to monitor student progress throughout the year. So it helps us to evaluate the supports we're providing to students in the program, and it also helps us to identify in what areas individual students need support. So I mentioned that this is one of the criteria that can be used to help students exit the program. I'll go over the different proficiency bands in a minute, but students need to have a 4.5 or higher on this assessment in order to be eligible to exit the program. And then secondly, there's an English language observation form that the teachers complete that indicates the student is ready to exit. So just because they have a 4.5 or higher on their overall score doesn't necessarily mean that they are definitely leaving the program. The teachers obviously review that as well. So there's a lot of information that we receive on these individual student reports. There's eight different categories. The first four are the language domains of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And then those four categories are used to create four additional categories. There's an oral language category, which is a combination of listening and speaking. There's a literacy category, which is a combination of reading and writing. There's a comprehension category that's a combination of listening and reading. And then there's the overall category that's a combination of all four language domain scores. So what I'll be reporting here is for each of those 8 different categories, these different proficiency levels, from the lowest of entering to the highest of reaching, which is a 6. So the test is scored 1 through 6, and again, the 4.5 is required to exit the program. So, the information that I'm providing here gives us a snapshot of all of the students who took the assessment. It's just important to realize that some students may have started learning English the week before this test. Some may have started 3 years ago. So the overall scores don't tell us a whole lot. It helps us to identify some areas of improvement for the individual students, and collectively it helps us to identify some areas for improvement for our whole program. But you'll see for each of these a wide range. It is interesting to note that for listening, the majority, well, I don't say the majority, but most of the students are on that reaching area, and that is because it's, the receiving information is easier than delivering information. So that's why you see the speaking component on the lower end of the proficiency bands there. The reading is kind of spread out throughout all of the proficiency levels. The writing, again, providing that output of the writing is one of the most difficult things, just like the speaking. And the oral language, you can see it spread out throughout here. Literacy also spread out with the majority of the students in that developing area. Comprehension is really spread out throughout. And the overall, and again, students need that 4.5 or higher, so that's that expanding to bridging area. So we do have a couple of students who are eligible to exit the program. So as you notice with the NJGPA, the state requires us to give disaggregated information and also comparative analyses where we compare year to year. So we did not have enough students take the assessment to give the disaggregated student group. Like, for example, I couldn't break it down by grade because there weren't 10 or more students in any grade. There weren't 10 or more students in any subgroup, so I'm not able to provide any disaggregated information. And I also can't compare it to last year because this is the first time that we've had enough students take this assessment to provide, to do the public presentation. So obviously we still have given this test in the past, but not enough students have taken it in order to publicly present the results. So as far as intervention strategies, and this is a statewide requirement, all ML students are required to have a class with an ESL certified teacher every day. So all of our students in this program have that. We are also starting an ML English class for the 25-26 school year. All of our ML students have the same school counselor. And obviously, if a student does exit the program, we're still required to monitor the student for a couple of years just to make sure that it was the right call and they don't need additional supports. So we continue to monitor the students even after they exit the program. Brendan mentioned before about standardized testing accommodations. That also goes for students who are ML students. They are eligible for standardized testing accommodations such as extended time, and they can also use word-to-word translation dictionaries while they're taking the assessments. Not just this assessment, but also the NJGPA, NJSLA, those kinds of assessments. And perhaps the most important intervention strategy is we do have regular ML articulation meetings with our sending districts and also with local high schools. The population is increasing. We have a lot more ML students in our district, and when we look at across all of our sending districts, it is a much larger population, and we get together regularly to talk about the students who are coming into the high school and the strategies to help students be successful. So that is certainly something that we have an increased focus on. Any questions about this? Yes.
I just had a question. So I was just taking a look back to see when the testing window was. Is there an exemption for students that come into the district without any, having taken any EL classes or ML classes before entering the district?
So there is an exemption for the NJSLA or NJGPA.
If it's the student's first year if it's their first year learning English, they do not have to take the ELA portion of the NJSLA or NJGPA. However, there is not an exemption for this access for ELL's assessment. So I know, for example, this year we did have students come in during the testing window, and I actually think we had a student who was their first day.
That's unfortunate.
Yes, yes.
Well, I'll add to that. I mean, a student who's been in the district their second year and is in their second year of learning English has to take the same NJGPA our kids who have been speaking English all their lives have to take, which is crazy.
It goes that and special education and students, all of that to me just feels like a real disadvantage for the students.
For sure.
Yeah, and when possible, we
are able to test the students towards the end of that window in those circumstances, but it's not that long. I mean, it goes over 2 months, but administratively to get the teachers back in the classroom and everything as well. So, and it's not punitive or anything.
We only offer the test in English?
it's an English proficiency assessment.
Not this test, but I mean the other one.
Oh, the other one?
So math is eligible in Spanish only. So there is a Spanish math assessment for the NJSLA and NJGPA, but no other languages. So, we talk about Spanish as for the primary language that students are coming in with, but we have students speaking a lot of other languages as well. Yes.
One of the other things, and maybe you've encountered it already, but as this cohort grows, students who are exiting at that level 6 access proficiency, the gap between that proficiency and the NJSLA or GPA is massive. And I don't know if in the ML classes or the English ML classes, you're already embedding the kinds of products that they would be doing for the portfolio simply because, again, that gap is so big.
It is, and one of the challenges is that
we will have students in all different grade levels in the same class. So that's one of the challenges.
I do think, though, you check me on this, you may be able to have them take those portfolio assessments, theoretically, I believe, anywhere in their time moving through the program. Admittedly, you want to do it when they're the most ready and capable of doing it, but it is something that you might be able to bank if it's naturally embedded in the curriculum.
And if they go through reaching, when they take that assessment, would they still be given accommodations of extra time, even though they're now considered?
If they exit the program, they would not have those.
Yes.
So
Yes.
the use of the gap is great. They couldn't, capitalize on the word-to-word or translating or extra time.
Right.
The English class that started this year for ML students, what happened prior to that? Can you explain also what that looks like? What is an ML?
So all students are required, all ML students are required to have an ESL class with an ESL certified teacher. So they did have that ESL class, and the teacher in that class was helping to support them in all of their classes, basically. So helping them acquire the English, but they were in general education English classes. And this year we were able to have more of individual people pushing into those classes to provide some support, but even more so just providing the professional development for the teachers of how to best support the students. We were able to do quite a bit of professional development this year to help teachers see how to help students and also to utilize some of the technology that we have to make the communication easier.
Okay, is that class happening in both schools? schools?
No, so the program is at North Hunterdon,
Okay.
yes.
Are Voorhees students going there?
If we have a student at Voorhees who is in need of those services, they would go to North Hunterdon.
One question about the cut score. Do we establish the 4.5?
That's
or
the
is it
state, yes.
Are we able to keep students in that class longer if we wanted to require the 6?
We have the ability to, it's the first criteria. There's also an observation form that is completed by the teacher. So the bottom line is we want to get students into the least restrictive environment, and if they don't need the support and if they're better off leaving the program, that's what we would do. But that's why the teacher is involved in that process. And the student and the team gets together to see what's best for that individual student.
Okay, so we can.
We can.
If the teacher feels that
If they still need the
they
support.
still need it,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Rich, what happens if by chance that occurs? Student moves out of the program, but there's a need 2 months later, 3 months. Are we able to backtrack and that teacher can recommendation back to the program?
Yes, that's why we're required to monitor the student for 2 years. So we can absolutely bring them back into the program if we find that that's necessary. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks, Rich.
Okay, moving on, Chief School Administrator's Report. Dr. Burgess?
Thank you, Kim. So first, before I start my report, I would like to issue a warm welcome to Phil Stern. Phil is our new General Counsel. I'm sure everyone got to meet Phil quickly at the beginning of the meeting. I know he was making the rounds, but we're excited to work with Phil. We've had quite a few meetings already with him, and very excited to see where he can help us in the coming year. So, well, thank you. All right, I do want to report on a few things that have been happening since school let out. First, the Hunterdon County Teen Arts Festival provides a forum to students to showcase their talents through exhibitions of visual art, theatrical presentations, dance, vocal and instrumental music performances, and presentations of original film and creative writing. Students experience the work of their peers and receive constructive feedback from professional artists. This year, the Teen Arts Festival was themed Wizard of Arts. They had over 760 students from 16 schools attend, and I want to send some congratulations to Voorhees High School Drama Club for receiving gold in musical theater, and Joaquin Arce of Voorhees High School for receiving bronze in vocal solos. And also the Voorhees Drama Club and Joaquin were recognized at the Hunterdon County Commissioners meeting on July 15th. And so that was a great form of recognition for them. I want to let everyone know that we have a blood drive coming up in North Hunterdon. They are hosting the summer blood drive on this Thursday coming up on July 24th in the main gym from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Information was sent out to the parents last week, but anybody that can make it to the blood drive, Mr. DiLorenzo will be eternally grateful. He loves having those numbers up, and we have a great community that really supports that stuff. The extended school year has started at both North Hunterdon and Voorhees on July 7th. Students come in daily from 8 to 12, and the sole purpose of the ESY is for special education students to maintain their skills and prevent regression. It will be going through August 1st, which I believe is next Friday, and students have been doing very well in it. It's been a great program. I try to visit it whenever I can each day, and Jen and Bobby have been giving me some great updates, so we're very happy with how that's progressed. And if you've been on campus, you've noticed that it's been a busy place. Most of that you see on the outside and on the inside as well has been sports camps, and a lot of which is great to see because it's nice to see our feeder programs participating in these sport camps. These kids that'll be here in 1, 2, 3 years. That includes the arts as well. It's been great to see them participating and be as busy as they are. So hopefully we have some great years coming up. I do want to say, I'm sure everyone has seen some of the progress on the Polytech site. Right now they are saying August 25th. They are hoping for a TCO. That'll be the first day for students. If that is the case, I think that would be great. The contractors have been working really hard trying to get that site cleared. I was told they're going to have paving equipment on site this week. I didn't see any today, but they're close. And I think once those things start, the interior has had a lot of things completed. There's still going to be some painting probably over the course of the whole year, but I think we're confident that we're going to get in there. If not on August 25th, very soon after that. So That'd be great. And last but certainly not least, as I welcome Phil to our district, I want to express my gratitude to Doug Pekanek. Doug has, been here for Katie for the last 5 months. Really, yeah. And this is Doug's last board meeting. I still have another week or so with him, but we are fortunate for everything you've done for us. For keeping our district afloat. You've had big shoes to fill, and you were able to do that. So thank you.
Well, the district was in really good shape when I got out here. And I think I'm going to leave in pretty good shape.
Well, you kept it. Thank you for that. We really appreciate that. So.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you very much.
So now on to the boring stuff, but my report on harassment, intimidation, and bullying is easy this year because we have had none since our last meeting because we haven't had school, so that's easy. But we do need a...
We do need a motion and a second to affirm the determination, so can I have a motion and a second on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
That was Beth and Dan.
Okay, got it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions?
I have to abstain.
And last but not least, the monthly reports are there for your information. If there's any questions, let me know.
Rich, I have a question. I noticed that there looks like construction materials of some sort in the parking lot of the school. Is that going to be there for a while, or?
No, I hope not.
Okay.
It is part of the Polytech construction project. They're staging some things there and moving it over as need be.
Okay, just a recommendation.
I did see them working on it today, so I was hoping it was going to be out of here today, but
Yeah, they really should have it kind of cordoned off a bit because at night it's not easy to see. So
okay, that's a good
there's some
point. I'll make sure that
reflective
happens. Yeah,
Especially given the number of performances and activities that are happening.
absolutely.
Even those cones,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Just cones around it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Rich, what kind of contingencies do you need to have in the event there are delays in terms of that building housing students?
Yes, we have a plan B where the students will, we have rooms set aside at North Hunterdon where those students will start attending their classes there. A lot of the beginning parts of a vocational technical program is a lot of, safety things, talking about OSHA regulations, really to getting them ready before they actually start hands-on activity. So if we have to do that for the first couple of weeks, we'll be good at the building.
When will we know that, though?
Are
we going down
just
to
kidding.
the 12th hour? Are we going to
Probably August 24th. But yeah, I mean, I have been in contact with Todd Bonsall from Polytech, and we actually met. I met with him and Greg Cottrell and Mike, and talked about some of the logistics, things that we're planning, and again, some of these things came out of that. But I think we're going to be in good shape. So.
I will say my experience with that contractor, we got the TCO the day before the first day of school.
Yeah, so.
Maybe it's par for the course. We'll just hope for the same.
Well, it's funny because you had mentioned an MO.
All it takes is one day.
We're seeing it, yeah.
Mhm.
So.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Before I note the meetings and so forth, I too would like to welcome Phil Stern from DeFrancesco, Bateman, Kunzman, Davis, Lair, and Flam as our new board counsel. And we look forward to developing a working relationship with you and your firm. And I too sentiment to Doug. It's been a pleasure. It's been a road you've been on, and you've carried us through, and it's been wonderful working with you. And I will miss your humor.
Yes, definitely.
So inside joke, he always has a joke at a committee, so it's fun. What I'd like to establish moving forward, new year, July 1, new fiscal year, and hopefully this will transcend moving on into coming years. Having a board president report, we have that, and I just want to make a few comments. I would like to take this opportunity during this president's report to highlight a topic the board is familiar with, but the public may not be. I would like to explain the committee structure. The monthly board meetings are more of a formality. In fact, most of the discussion and consideration of issues is done through the committee process amongst board members on and off each committee. I believe it is important to share this process with our public. Our monthly standing committees are Finance, Facilities and Transportation, Curriculum Instruction, Committee Relations and Personnel. The agenda for our regular board meetings is created jointly by the superintendent and board president. We strive to ensure that each item on the monthly agenda has been considered within committee, which also provides a process for board members not on the committee to share their comments or concerns on those agenda items prior to the regular meeting. This process supports one of the NJSBA's frequently repeated norm, no surprises at the board table. The board should not surprise the administration, nor should the board be surprised by the administration. There are rare occasions when the administration and board president may need to add a last-minute agenda item, and it does happen. However, we try to avoid that as much as possible. When a parent, staff member, board member, or student highlights an area of concern or requests the board review a particular practice, those items can be directed to the committee for consideration. Each committee has both discussion and action items included. Official board action can only be taken with a quorum. A quorum is a majority of the weighted vote on our board. No committee has a quorum, therefore a committee can make recommendations to the full board but cannot act on behalf of the board. The agenda is posted prior to each meeting and available to all board members. All board members can email the committee chair with questions, comments, etc., so that they are fully informed of all board matters. The minutes of these meetings are shared with all board members, providing everyone access and ample time to have their voices heard. Notably, when policies are up for either adoption or abolishment, there is a first and second read across 2 committee and 2 board meetings, which happens in consecutive months. This gives board members extra time to reach out to their chair with questions or concerns. Committee meeting discussions are confidential and deliberative in nature. Not all discussion items will become an action item, and action items may remain in a committee for another month for further research and discussion if applicable. The items being moved this evening are all action items that have been well thought out and thoroughly discussed throughout the committee process. Action items are the only items that can be discussed at the board table. Thank you. Moving on, regular meeting, Tuesday, August 19th, 2025, 7 p.m. Note, not 6, 7 p.m. Deadline to submit nominating petitions for school board vacancies to the county clerk's office is this coming Monday, July 28th at 4 p.m. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but NJSBA's Workshop 2025 is October 20th to the 23rd this year. And I think that also there's if we get enough board members, we get a discount.
We actually signed up for the group rate already.
Perfect.
So hopefully we
Look at
have
that.
4 or more, and then we are saving money.
So if you're interested, please email me and copy Rich so we can utilize that.
And one of the things that Gwen touched upon, us getting together, this is a great place for us to go because there's so many sessions and workshops that we can do together and collaborate on without it worrying about being a quorum. We're perfectly fine going as a board as a whole.
Yes.
So,
Well,
it's
any
great
of
to
those
see.
anytime any professional development, any meeting outside, we can go as a board as a whole. The 12 of us could go, as long as we are not conducting speaking board business. So
Does
we
that
can
also
do that.
go with, like, say, in other words, how Gwen has been here before, Patty Reese was here, giving us the training and anything? Is it ever where they come here to train us, or do we have to go to them?
Well, that's what
usually?
Gwen's saying. If you go on our site, they have policy, they have legal, they have other presenters that other outside of Gwen that will come if you request. That's what she's referring
okay.
to.
I wasn't sure
They'll
if
come
we
and
were
do
supposed to go
trainings
to
if we
them.
request
Yeah.
them.
Good idea.
And we should. It's a service provided by NJSBA.
And
So-
then the other thing is our monthly county meeting, and we have different topics, so we'll do, budget, we'll do finance, we'll
Yep.
do legal. So those are a great place for us to come together. It's one month it's at the Chalet, and the next is down in Flemington. So that's another resource we can have as a board to go to participate and get the same session together.
And there's also, to that point, Tara, all of your online, you can attend any county. It does not have to be our county. So I tell you to go in and check because sometimes they're the same topics. But even if it's the same topic, it might be a different presenter from NJSBA and you get a different perspective. So, but they'll start rolling. I don't know if they did next month, they'll put the schedule out and you can start signing up for the whole year. So just
And it's great, I attended a lot of the Essex County ones. because I had worked down there and that was my community of my pharmacy. But it's nice to hear from districts that may be similar to ours, but also may be completely different, to see how they're navigating and dealing with topics that we're dealing with. So it's really a great way to collaborate and, get a perspective, statewide, outside of just, us in Hunterdon County. It's really helpful.
And you should touch base on the delegate meeting while you're, pitching in. That's a great forum too for everybody if you haven't done it. Most people don't attend it, but.
And the nice part now is as we move towards school boards with our policies, that's what the delegate convention is about. If we want to change something, it goes in through the delegates. So any of our policies have gone through the delegate assembly, spring and fall. So if there's anything that we have and we want to change it, and we think it'll be in the interest, we can present our changes, our verbiage to the committee, and then it gets voted on, and they'll get redlined and then implement it, and that'll change the whole policy.
And can you get that, when that comes, it should come out next month, so we have that ahead of time?
The deadline, yep.
Because we always hit the deadline and,
I know, the deadlines come sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as I get it, I'll let you know, and
Thank-
if anyone thinks of anything, just
Thank you,
ask.
Tara. At this time, we'll have public comment.
Just one
Oh.
quick question, I'm sorry. Just kind of following up with Gwen and sort of the intent of having the next month or so to sort of settle on board goals for the next year. What are you anticipating would be our mechanism to sort of bring that together? Or
I think that's the
solicit?
discussion I'm going to have with Rich.
Okay.
Seeing, we have Angela not here, but I think it'll be a brainstorming, and maybe, it'll be each committee or individually, or we send them in. But I really, we do need to have that constructive conversation. And as doing it next month, we have time.
Right.
We have time.
Kim, and I just wanted to make just a point of clarification. The goals that Gwen showed were our 24-25 goals. So we did have a board self-eval last year.
No,
We did. Gwen created the goals for us.
we did not have a self-eval.
We did no norms.
We did not have a self-eval presentation.
We didn't.
We didn't have a presentation, but I think we did it,
It was
and I
not-
think when,
No, it was
how did
not.
we get the goals then?
It was not run. The self-eval was not run last year, and it was not done the year before.
How did we get our goals?
I think Gwen did a goal-setting
Yes.
session for us at the end of last year,
Yes.
or during the
It
So
wasn't-
we
it
did
wasn't
not
from
have
the
the self-eval.
self-evaluation.
It was not
And
from the
we did
eval.
have a norm meeting set when Glenn left, but we never had it. Remember? we
Not
had-
that I'm aware of.
Well, when you were elected president, it was up for your decision, and you postponed it, if I recall.
There was
correctly.
nothing on the calendar.
No, but it was set up by the previous, Rich, can you provide me clarification here? Is my memory failing me? Didn't we have a goal norm tentative date set and Kim postponed it till we were ready to have it? Wasn't that the case?
We talked about scheduling a few times. I'm not sure if it actually
Right, but it never
got
happened.
scheduled, but yeah.
But, I'm sorry, we do have a completed board self-evaluation in 2024.
That's what I mean,
I
we
just
had
pulled it
that.
up. The compilation
We
is
had
done.
it. I'm not insane. We
I'm
had it
telling
and
you.
Gwen developed the goals. We have the results.
I remember that.
We have
Remember
it.
that.
We had a board eval last year, and Gwen helped us with the goals.
Gwen
We did
came
not
and
do
presented
board
into the goals.
norms.
That's right, yeah.
So we will discuss that. That's something Dr. Burjax and I will discuss. We want to get it on the calendar and get the board goals rolling for next month and district goals.
Well, I
And
do
then-
think it's important that we
And I also-
are accurate, though.
And I also think we should, we have the plausibility, and suggestion of looking at also having a handbook for the board. So,
Who would develop that?
Yeah.
the board. We could do it during board as a retreat. But these are all suggestions we can have.
But a handbook to do what?
It guides the board with it's for the norms.
I think it's a different name, kind of, for the norms. I think it's just.
Because
like-
It is inclusive of your norms.
Yeah.
It would be your handbook, but we can discuss that.
What kind of handbook? I'm kind of curious.
It would be a board handbook with inclusive of your norms, procedures, operational
I think
procedures.
it's just a different name, best practice.
I mean, yeah, best practices. We could
And
call it
that-
whatever
Other
we
districts
wanted.
call it
A handbook.
That would kind of go along with, we're talking about for new members.
I was just gonna
It could
say,
be on with
I wish I had
onboarding.
that,
Yeah, exactly.
because coming on, I got nothing,
None of us did.
Yep.
so.
Yeah.
just learn on the fly.
Years ago.
Yeah.
Welcome to the team, Rich.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Moving on to, oh, Brian?
For public comment. I just want to understand your letter. You said action items are the only items that can be discussed at the board table. Are you saying that the board has no ability to bring up new items that?
No, that would be under new and old business.
Well,
What we're saying
for
is out of
example,
committee.
We've had many discussions that so far today that were not action item discussions. Are
And,
they allowed?
yes, they are. We had presenters.
Okay.
We had a presentation. It was Q&A. We had Gwen presenting from NGSB, Q&A.
Okay.
But when it comes to the agenda,
We can't
what is on the
Q&A?
the agenda items or actionable items are what we're speaking to during board business.
Okay.
So are there discussion items on the agenda coming out of committees? There's discussion topics, but they're still in committee. There's no action being taken on them. That's what I was
Unless we
speaking
call for a
to.
motion. And then we can action anything we like.
I think there's, and I think the goal of that, and you can tell me if I'm right, is efficiency, so that
Yes.
there's things that we've already discussed in committee, and those are coming up, and that's what we're acting on. There are some things that we might have, that are still in committee, that we're still discussing, that the committee hasn't made a recommendation yet. So to further the discussion here would just kind of complicate matters. You know, not all the information's there, so.
Okay. Okay, I get it. The other question I actually have about this is, I guess the norm is that is loaded now. The idea being suggested is that every board member watch every committee meeting, because the minutes are pretty light. They're not, we discuss topic
Yes.
X. They don't really talk about it. So that's.
And that is
what you're
where
suggesting is that everybody.
This is why I think, and Rich, Dr. Burchak's fantastic, we added this because there was concerns by board members. We're not part of that committee, we're not we're not in that meeting, we'd like to hear more. We have questions and answers, and a lot of those questions and answers you get from watching that committee meeting. Now, I understand it's cumbersome, and you can't get to all of them, but the information's there. You have a month. You have a month
We
to go
only have a
through it.
week.
Yeah. but
There's
that-
only a week to view the committee meetings prior to the agenda and prior to the meetings.
Well, you don't, not to the agenda.
Not to the agenda, but to read and to understand what the agenda items will be for each committee. We have 1 week's time and for the most of us at this table, we have professional lives and don't always have 8 hours or whatever, 6 or whatever long it is to watch every committee meeting. But would it perhaps be better if we had 2 weeks? So we have our committee meetings 2 weeks prior to the board meeting. That way we have 2 weeks to review all the
I don't
meeting
have
minutes.
issues. I would leave that to administration.
I like that idea.
No, but there's specifically FFT, I know there are items that are still being developed as we're getting to the committee.
It's a financial thing.
I think it comes down to the business office and, with.
Well,
our
maybe
VA.
that one can be a little bit later. I mean, I don't want to do that to people that are on that committee to say they're going to be available like 3 weeks in a row. That's the only thing.
Well, but here's the thing, I did not think that we were doing the recordings to take the place of the minutes.
No one said that.
No.
Right,
And that's not what I'm saying
No,
either.
But the F-15 minutes, for example, don't have anything in them except a list of what we're approving today, so.
In most
the
cases,
only-
that's all that's listed in there. We discussed topic X.
Understood, yeah.
And honestly, that if you go to your agenda and you look at finance, 12.1 through 12.9, that is really all we spoke about. We went through them, and there was nothing else. You have your self-training and the bills list.
So no discussion about anything. I mean, we haven't gotten to that agenda yet, and I feel
Yes,
bad for
so
this
I'd like to start-
community member. But
So if there's
we can
any-
discuss it there. We'll
She
discuss
just
it.
said, hey.
That's
What I'd like to do is that if you have a question, send me the question, copy Rich, and we will get back to
But
you.
why, I'm sorry, but why doesn't the whole board get to hear the questions? Because basically what you're saying is that I alone can ask you the question and you respond to me because the entire board.
What questions are you referring to?
In general. In general.
In the committee, you're hearing everything that transpires.
No. If I have a question, for example, about the FFT committee meeting, I can only send it to you.
No, you send it to the
Fine.
chair.
But why does it, but then Cynthia won't necessarily hear what my question was.
Well, I will,
hear the
to
answer.
that point, if it's sent to the chair, I know Dan did it, I've seen it this whole week. There was board members who sent questions in, and the Rich Brown had in curriculum, there was someone who sent in questions, Dan did. So those questions are being asked.
But I don't get to hear the answer.
You're hearing it on the recording. You can't be in every committee. It's unfortunate with the
then
structure.
I think that you're just missing my point. So let's say I listen to the FFT meeting minutes. I
Mhm.
listen to it, then I have a question. So I raise it to Dan and to you.
But you can't send it to everybody.
But I can't send it to everybody, and you can't, I guess you can send the response to everybody, but the board is not hearing questions that are being raised. It's all being dealt with outside of the public purview, and again, there has to be transparency around that discussion.
But we can't all.
Well, we don't operate
And that's
as
fine, but I don't,
No, but we can't have, it can't be a question to 12, to the other 11 of us and then a response.
I mean,
because then
it
now
is
board-
unfortunate,
it's
Beth,
board
I hear what
discussion.
you're saying. It is part of that committee structure as opposed to doing it as a committee as a whole. And this is where we're talking about with Gwen, we need to learn to, a level of trust with each other.
It's not a trust, honestly, it's not trust. It's that you saw the dialogue about what we want to establish as our goals. The dialogue in and of itself is helpful to understanding the concerns that one board member may have about something so that we can ease their concerns or let the public know. You know what I mean? Like,
What
it's
about-
not about,
Yeah.
not trusting. It's really not trusting.
Can I
Beth, what
ask
if
you
we
to have
publish-
a conversation? Can we have a conversation?
I just have a
discuss this?
recommendation.
Sure.
And
in
then we can
response to
come
that.
up with some
Yeah, sure.
ideas possibly?
Absolutely, yeah.
If
I would
there's-
be
If
very
there's
open
an
to that.
idea, Beth,
Yeah.
maybe within the folder, like, I'm looking at the FFT folder, there's a bunch of attachments for the things we're
Yeah.
gonna approve. But if there were, maybe we should have the board president or the chair just copy the email into a folder, and then everybody can read it if they want.
All right.
If there's a general question, and there could be
Those are brainstorming.
like a Q&A folder.
There's a solution here.
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah.
So,
There
yeah.
is a solution.
Yeah.
This is not a trust thing. It's really about
That's
how do we
Sharing of
absolutely.
knowledge.
So
Yeah.
that's a great
Yeah,
idea. If we
exactly.
can
Okay,
talk
perfect.
after, so we weren't
Perfect.
postponing this
Sorry.
poor woman.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much.
Wait, do you have to
Kim,
read the
you have to
public
read-
portion?
You have to read.
I got almost there.
Oh, okay.
We got sidebarred.
Sorry.
During this portion of the meeting, the public is invited to address the Board of Education with comments. You are requested to sign the register provided and to state your name, municipality of residence, group affiliation if applicable, and direct your comments to the school board president. While all comments will be considered by the Board of Education and a response may be forthcoming, if and when appropriate, individual school board members may not respond to the speakers at the time of their appearance. The public comment period will be a maximum of 30 minutes in length unless there are unusual circumstances. You will be allocated 3 minutes to speak, and no one will be permitted to speak more than once on the same topic until all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. Please keep your comments respectful and non-defamatory and maintain the level of decorum appropriate for a public meeting where students may be present and in the audience.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name's Meredith Cully. I have a son who is special needs, and he goes to Voorhees. And a lot of the kids at Voorhees have autism spectrum disorder. And we're really, really struggling with the lack of time that Voorhees is currently providing
in their summer ESY program, which stands for Extended School Year, as you're probably aware. As I said, many of the students in the program there have autism. So as you know probably about autistic kiddos, they really rely on structure and routine. So with the current ESY program at Voorhees, it only runs for 4 weeks, and it runs only from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And we're really having a hard time regulating behaviors with such a limited summer ESY program. So we're just asking us autism parents if you'd please add some more time to your ESY extended school year program for our autistic kiddos at Voorhees and at North. They really need it. I just have a brief letter that I put together for you guys so that it's just sort of like a more formal request to add some time for our kiddos. And I'll pass it out to you guys if that's okay when I'm done. But the formal letter reads, we're requesting to add more time to the Voorhees North ESY Extended School Year program for next summer, the 2026 summer. The reason for the request is that special needs students in this program, many with autism spectrum disorder, really need more time in the summer with structure and routine. The lack of time and structure can be very difficult for both the students and their families. Due to the lack of structure and routine, some show signs of behavioral regression. Although many parents try our very best to make up for the lost time, we are not professionals like the staff at Voorhees and North currently providing the ESY programs. Personally, this isn't in this letter, but we bought a pool for my son, and we even bought a hot tub to try to just, make up for the lost time to get him some sensory input with the hot tub. And like I said, that's not in here, but it's still, even though we're trying so hard and doing everything we can to make up, it's still really a struggle. There are 3 special needs private schools that are not too far from our district that also serve autistic students. They are DLC, the Midland School, and Allegro. Those schools all have 6 weeks ESY programs, and each day is a full school day. Our ESY program, as I noted, is 4 weeks and only 8 a.m. to 12. Although other public high schools in our area may also have limited summer ESY schedules like ours, it doesn't make it right or good for our kids. As time goes on and the needs of our kids change and increase, change instead of stagnation of an old schedule is really necessary. In order to best care for and educate this population of students and appropriately meet their needs, the summer program really needs to offer the students more time. Note on staffing. The reason I'm coming to the board and administration a full year ahead of time is to give the school time for the understandable possibility of adding staff and create the best possible environment for the special needs students that attend Voorhees North ESY. And we will definitely not give up on this. We'll keep asking because we know how important this overdue change is for our special needs children. And we just signed, and I don't know, Kevin, do you want to say anything? Or do you think would you like to say anything? It's up to you.
Meredith, I'll take those.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you. No, you're okay. Thank you for waiting. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Kevin Giorniani. My daughter Sophia behind me here. This is her 4th ESY, so she's approaching her senior year. And it's true what Meredith said. It is not enough. As a special needs parent, you can never do enough. Your best day is not good enough for your child, but you try the best you can, and so should the educators, at Voorhees and Hunterdon. I've worked with Jen. I've known her for the last 3 years or so. I give her my input consistently. We try our best, like I said. Sophia came from Somerset Hills Learning Institute. So their structure is this. The school year ends, everybody has a 2-week break, staff and students, and they come back, and it's a full day for about 6-7 weeks, and it's until mid-August or so. And then they enjoy another 2 weeks off, and then the school year starts again. So that's all I just wanted to say. There should be just maybe a longer structure for ESY just to prevent the regression for our students. Thank you.
There's no sign-in book. There's no sign-in sheet. I can skip it. I don't know if it's okay to skip it. Well, thanks. Okay. My name is Marina Bartelli. I am a resident of Franklin Township. I did not come here with prepared remarks, so it's kind of on the fly. First and foremost, I would like to add my support to the students who face particular challenges, particularly the students and the parents of children with autism spectrum disorder, parents who've gotten up to speak as representatives of that group within our community. So I lend my support to them and hope that their needs will be met in an appropriate manner and that their needs are heard. The second thing I want to say is that I remember being a student in school, and there's this really great practice in schools, and it's been done for decades and decades because it works. And that's the idea that when a student in a classroom has a question, they raise their hands, they address the teacher in front of the class. Everyone gets to hear the question. And everyone present in that classroom gets to hear the answer. It's a great idea. It's been working for a very long time. So, given that this is a school district, I would think what works, no matter the setting, that if an individual has a question, and it doesn't matter whether it's in a work staff meeting at my job or a student's question in a classroom or a board member who has a question about something, it would seem that asking that question so that everyone hears it, anyone who may have had a similar question or been wondering that themselves has an opportunity to hear the answer. And even for folks who didn't have that question themselves, there's an opportunity to learn something more. So I appreciate that approach. And again, it's a school board, school district. So one would think that some of these things, these principles, transfer in some ways. What really spurred me to get up and speak, and hopefully I'm not burning through 3 minutes, was the characterization of these public Board of Education meetings as a formality. That blows my mind. This Board of Education, all boards of education, serve a school community, especially the students and their families and the community at large. It's a service position. And I know all of you who go to late meetings and, are taking time out of your personal days, you're providing service. And I appreciate that. I appreciate what you do. But this is a part of our democratic process in this country. We have public schools, and the Board of Education meetings are public meetings. There's transparency. The board has a responsibility to the public, particularly within their district, to the populace. The populace has a right to be made aware of what's going on in their schools, the policies, concerns, issues, and any plans to remedy. There's also the opportunity for feedback. And again, it's a matter of transparency. It's a matter of integrity. A matter that I didn't come here to speak on, but to hear these meetings characterized as a formality, again, blew my mind. So I view these meetings as an opportunity for Board of Ed members. It's a chance for you to demonstrate your qualifications, your abilities to manage, your abilities for leadership, for problem solving, and integrity, openness, transparency. Likewise, it is an opportunity to fail at those things. It's an opportunity to demonstrate a lack of willingness to be transparent, or a lack of a qualification or leadership skills, or an ability to manage something adequately. The public has a right to seeing all of those dynamics in this setting. I do understand there is executive session, that's part and parcel. There are committee meetings. The public doesn't need to be privy to those. But to characterize these meetings as a formality is an insult to every person who lives in this school district, students, families, and the public. Thank you.
Is there any other public comments? Any other comments? Okay, thank you. I accept that. I will close public comments. Moving on to curriculum instruction and technology. Committee report, Brendan, please.
Thank you. The committee met on July 16th. The first agenda item included the monthly reports, the out-of-district placements, service contracts, and the approval of the emergency closure plan. In both conversation and sort of action, or I guess discussion on those items, one of the things that came up in the monthly reports was the recognition that some of the coding warranted some further exploration. For example, specifically, special needs students who might be staying with the district until they age out of the district were potentially being coded as not graduating. So there was some exploration done on that and a correction on that code, mostly because we want to make sure that students staying for their allowable duration within the district is not something that's hurting the district in any reporting that is happening. Separately, there was talk about just out-of-district placements in general and the district's efforts being attentive to cost, articulation, program offering, and efforts to keep the students in district whenever possible. Also, part of that discussion was the recognition that each year in our budget we have contingency funding in the event that a special needs student arrives and can present considerable cost to the district with no planning or notice, and sort of the importance of maintaining those funds, but also more recently the district's efforts to strengthen its articulation efforts with the K-8 districts to see where there are inroads to make those parents and students aware of the programming that we have and the opportunity to learn about our programming where there might otherwise be an inclination to seek an out-of-district placement. And then in terms of some of the service contracts, specifically reviewing for the deaf students and supporting our blind students, with the supportive technology that we're providing for them, as well as some exploration of additional in-house staffing, because we were beginning to realize that in some instances it becomes more affordable to have an in-house staff member providing a particular service versus having to rely too much on outsourcing, which at some point has a higher cost. So again, these are all dimensions that are constantly being looked at and part of the recommendations that come out of that work. The second item was the NJGPA and access reports, which I won't repeat anything that Rich shared in this presentation. He did highlight about the additional programming for the ML students in terms of English classes. They also brought up the note that those students share the same counselor, and to sort of streamline some of the communication and support efforts. And separately, there was some conversation alluded to here in terms of the technology tools that can support ML students and some of the AI possibilities that are out there as well. We did not get to we had on our agenda a social studies program interview, but because the first two items took up the majority of the meeting, we did not get to that. There were a few questions that Nicole had sent to Rich, some of which were sort of naturally embedded into our presentation tonight, where there was the cohorts, the individual cohorts were followed for a series of years. But I did want to ask Nicole, I didn't know if, because you had a couple of questions in there, if there were any specific dimensions that you wanted to just follow up on in terms of disaggregating some of that data. I know the cohort thing was one of them, where you're looking at the same group of kids over a couple of years. I think you had some questions about subgroups also, and sort of how they were
Yes,
being
but I think you
determined.
guys discussed that, and I sent that to Rich.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was going to be brought out in conversation, because I don't see it on the minutes.
Well, no, I was just really bringing it up more as
It
part
was-
of the conversation that sometimes
It was a
questions
conversation that I was
stuck in.
having with Rich Brown
Okay.
about understanding some of the subgroups and some of the numbers and how the groups were formed and amount of kids that were brought up and
Okay.
what would constitute a group and how many
To be
kids need
reported.
to. Yes.
Got it. Okay.
But that is a good
But thank
example.
you for bringing that up, because that was an email between Rich and yourself.
But that's
Not on
also-
the minutes.
No, but
Appreciate
that's a good example.
It's not a good example because it's not on the minutes to be reported. So if Brendan had a question about my question, he should have contacted me.
But it is a good example.
It's really not a great example.
No, it is, because.
Because
the
other
question
persons
on
might have had questions on the
But there was
same thing.
other questions that were emailed around too, but I haven't heard anybody else's names brought up
But
about that.
I actually touched upon it, I heard it from Rich, but I've had that question before, but he answered, I didn't know you had that question, so it's good. But when he was saying the reportable group is 10 or more, and if they don't have 10 or more. So it is a perfect example of, if we don't see the emails, but we have that question, it answers it. I wouldn't have had to ask it, but he did it in his presentation.
It's a good conversation. I think
Yeah, exactly.
Jess had a great point.
Yeah.
And Beth and I think to talk about that, and
Exactly.
because we can put it in a folder like we used to do spreadsheet and update, but just do the questions instead of sending the questions. I think we at one point were doing it Google survey. We were sending questions to the there's lots of ways we could do it, and I think Jess had some, Beth had some.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let me just say, I did not mean to reveal anything that was in that email. I was honestly just trying to address the fact that Rich seemed to incorporate some of those elements. I wanted to make sure there wasn't something that was missed.
I hate to say it, but I have a question. So, I mean, this can't be a new problem, right? So what was going on here last year would be my question. Can't be new, right? So what was
Regarding questions?
Yeah.
We've never had a real process for it, and I don't think up until recently, and I would say probably, since under this leadership, there is a question of trust and what goes
I
on in
would
those
disagree
meetings.
with that.
It is true.
I disagree with that. Yeah.
Well then, I'm sorry, did you read our evaluation? There's a level of distrust amongst the individuals of this board. We do not trust, and as you seemed very offended just now. I mean, that your question was spoken of. You didn't trust that Brendan was going to ask the question, or there was, you could hear it in your voice. There's not a level of trust here. And if you have a question or anybody has a question that's for the good of the order, and rather than have Rich Brown have to give 10 answers to that question, or the superintendent give 10 answers, or the chair give 10 answers, if it's for the good of the order, then we should have and have a process where we can hear those answers.
And I think we've been redirected. I've said Beth's gonna reach out, we're gonna brainstorm, and I'll talk with Dr. Burjaks. As far as anything else, it was, a question was sent, it was in committee, it was discussed, it was addressed, so.
We also used to discuss it after board
So-
meetings. We did. If somebody had a question, we would discuss it. So that it was addressed that way as well.
Which is, there's pros and cons to that, right? Because I've seen stuff
Well,
where
I think
holy
some
hell
of-
is broken.
I think some of the questions that we
So-
want to have in dialogue between each other, that we
Yeah.
wanted to talk about, we talk about amongst ourselves. If we have questions about specific reports and stuff like that, that's why we usually send it into the chair to have discussions, and then I went back and followed up with the meeting, and I had my answers.
Yeah.
Because it was addressed.
I mean, here's the bottom line, right? I think we all acknowledge there's something here. We're going to discuss it. We're going to work together to solve the problem, right? I mean, I think we're all on the same page with that.
Yeah, and I think Beth mentioned earlier, it wasn't a matter of trust.
No, it wasn't. It was just about discussion point, educating the
Oh.
entire group.
Our attorney would like
Yep.
to say something.
If I may.
You may.
There are hybrids of committee of the whole and a committee structure throughout this state, and different boards. Some do a very strict committee, some do a very strict committee of the whole, meaning that there are no separate committees. Everything is discussed usually at multiple meetings during the month. But there are also hybrids where there is an understanding that everybody can't make all the committee meetings, and there are some rules that are put in to a board like this one that functions on a committee structure that permit answers to this. And I'm more than happy to provide the president and the superintendent some of the examples of exactly how they do that, and go on from there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay. Brendan, all done?
Yep, all done.
We're good. At this time, I'd like a motion and a second to approve items 10.1 through 10.4.
So moved. Second?
Tara and Beth, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Moving on to policy and school security report. Nicole?
Yes. Policy and Security met on July 14th. We were present. Brian Chapman was not present, but we had on the agenda to discuss school resource officers and class 3 officers, which we discussed, we discussed the roles between the two and what the schools needed, and we were having a further discussion, and we will continue the conversation. It was a heavy discussion on security. There's no action at this time, but it's a continuing conversation going forward.
Any questions for?
I don't have a question. I would just say that one thing is the committee was aligned on everything and on the path going forward. So we're going to wait and see.
Was there also a discussion, or was that in a different committee on OPRA requests, or?
That was FFT.
That's FFT.
That does FFT is showing up, look, it's showing up under here.
And then I just have one quick question on policy. When is our official rollout?
We're working on that.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
I'll have Dr. Burchak's comment.
Officially, our school board's policy manual has been adopted and is in effect right now. I am working with representatives from New Jersey school boards to get the board doc site up and running so that we can then publish that publicly on our website. It's been emails back and forth for about a week. I finally got some inroads today, and I hope that will lead to exactly what we need tomorrow. So.
Fabulous, thank you.
Okay, moving on, Finance, Facilities, and Transportation Committee report, and Dan?
Yes, we met on the 14th at 6:30. So I'm just going to go through the agenda. The first item, 12.1, is submission of the DOE water infrastructure improvement grant application. This is a grant that was put out, an opportunity by the state for school districts to upgrade or install new filtered bottle filling stations and filtered faucets to reduce lead contamination in drinking water. So at this point, we're making the application. It was a short time frame, so thank you, Doug, for getting that in. 12.2 is submission of the Individuals with Disability Education Act. This is our this is funding, correct? Is that right? And it's slightly less than it was last year.
Correct.
But this is something we do every year. 12.3 is reservation of wastewater treatment capacity agreement with Clinton Township. Feel free to jump in if I say something incorrectly, but this is an agreement that's in place because we are the owners of the property. We're required to approve any of the costs or agreements that with the sewerage authority for the Polytech building, but any of the costs that are indicated, additional costs that are indicated in this, are then passed on to Polytech, and they pass through to Polytech.
That is correct.
Okay.
And that is stipulated in the lease that we negotiated in 2021.
Right. That was the other thing we discussed, is that it's already in the lease. So, but that's required by the sewage authority. In addition to that, 12.4 is indemnification hold harmless agreement with, and this is was required because we are currently named. Am I allowed to talk about that? Yeah.
I mean, I would just say that what the indemnification agreement is because we were required to sign this agreement instead of Polytech. We wanted to make sure we weren't putting ourselves in any liability, and so Polytech and our attorneys developed this indemnification.
Our lawyers did, right? Not Polytech's?
Yeah, no, there's reviewed it, of course, and put name back and forth.
Okay, great.
Okay, 12.5 and 12.6 are just the service rates for ESC. 12.7 is a change order. This is a credit, basically a credit change order. So this is the completion of a project. There's allowances that are in place for construction projects. When you get to the end, those are then credited back to the district so that we can apply them otherwise. I guess it goes back into the capital reserve. 12.8 is to award the contract to Your Way Construction for the repairs of the parking lot. I will comment something that when we discussed it at the committee meeting, there was a lower, there was someone who was lower, who had a lower price for this. It was being reviewed by the attorneys, and also what we discussed is the fact that it was so much lower, it seemed like it was kind of out of the realm of, it seemed unreasonably low. So I guess they have since pulled their bid because it was too low. There was some, which is it's something we kind of talked about with Rich at the time. It's not something you'd ever want to try and force a contractor to do a job for less than it would cost them, because then you're going to get inadequate work or bad construction, or they just wouldn't do the job. That would be the case. So it's better to get the contract. Because the second and the third bidders were fairly close in price, so that seemed to be more the rate for this project. So, and it's all within the budget that was assigned. 12.9 are banners. This is the Booster Club's annual sponsorship, and that they're pretty consistent with what's been done in past years. And then 12.10 and 12.11 are staff training and bills list, standard monthly items. There are a few items that were discussed that are not action items. They were just discussed during the meeting, and they'll be continued in discussion in subsequent meetings. One of them was the New Jersey cash management account established. That was something that Doug had brought up about getting better rates. I think what Doug was saying is that's something that Katie would pick up when she's back, but it's all established and ready to go so that she can allocate money to that if it makes sense. End of the year closeout and audit is in process. And then we had just a list of any Oprah requests were just provided just for review if needed. That's it. Any questions?
So I have a question. So with them, we had, funny, because you guys all discussed that, and that was what you had seen with the pulling back of that bid.
Yeah.
So are we going to the next
Yeah,
bid?
so the
or-
one on the list
Yeah,
is the second
just-
bidder.
So the first bidder we didn't pull back and then offer, or we can't?
You can't.
You can't, so it's
Once
a
the,
strict.
once the bids are in, you can't, they can either pull their bid
It
or,
was interesting because you were talking about that.
yeah.
Okay.
And it makes sense because the numbers were so far off. They just missed something.
Something was missed, it was a mistake.
There's a
Okay.
mathematical calculation that they did.
Yeah, they were about almost half, 50%,
Okay.
which did make sense.
Part of me wanted to keep it to it, but.
No, it was so low,
I know,
but it was
I
just
know.
ironic that Dan brought that up and said,
No.
no, this is what happened.
You gotta trust
And then-
Dan. He's in that world.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
It might also help everybody just in our community as well, just to understand. The operative phrase is not just lowest bidder, it's lowest responsible bidder.
Right.
And this board is not looking to deprive the community of the lowest bid. What the board has done here is made sure that the low bid is not only one that will be as economical and fiscally responsible as possible to the public, but also one that can be done under the terms that the specifications showed. And it was very clear to the committee that the lowest bidder was not the lowest responsible bidder.
Right.
And so what the board is voting on tonight is in fact the lowest responsible bidder, who was the second lowest bidder.
Yep.
and I gave an example in the meeting because
Yeah.
we were just talking about it. We were opening bids at another school district, and all of the bids had the number crossed out with a pen, and they were all marked up another $200,000. And so what it was is there was one of the subcontractors noticed they messed something up, and they called all the contractors and said, no, I missed it, add 200,000, except for one person who didn't get the phone call.
Yep.
And so their bid ended up being lowest because they missed that call, but it was now off by $200,000. It was a significant number, so they had to pull their bid.
I have really one quick question on 12.2. It's Part B. Can you just clarify on this IDA, what does that encompass? Like Part A, we've already done. Part B, what does that funding encompass?
I believe Part A is an entitlement, and Part B is something we apply for, but
We did, okay. Perfect. Okay, great, thank you.
I have a question on 12.1. If we are approved with this grant for the water infrastructure, what's the timing, do you know? Like, when would that occur, the change out? And what do we have right now in terms of water use for our students?
You are aware that the district does test water.
Of course.
At Voorhees, on a regular basis, because it's well water, and then here, because it's municipal water, there's the municipalities do the testing. So what we do is when we do the testing and we discover that there are, and it's really where it's going to impact us more than anywhere else is in the drinking fountains or the bottle filling stations that we have. That's where there may be an occurrence of like maybe a higher level of copper or lead. And once that's identified, then we swap them out. When we first came across the grant, we thought that this was going to be something that would help with maybe a new water well or something of that nature. It turns out it's only for remediating problem areas. And so I don't know that we're going to get a big chunk of money here, but I'd at least like to take a shot at getting, because one of the guys told me, one of the facilities guys said that a replacement of a bottle filling station is about $3,000. So that's significant. And so does that answer your question, or did I miss it?
Well, I was asking also the timing. Is this something that would happen within the school year perhaps, or are we looking?
Well, the submission date is July 31st. It has to be submitted to the Department of Education.
Okay.
And I imagine they go, normally what they do with the grants like this is they go through a period of time where they determine, how they're going to divvy the money up and who's going to get it. And so I'm not sure how long that'll take. You've dealt with SDA grants before, and that can be a long duration of months and months before we see anything Fortunately, this does have a look-back provision that goes back to 2016. So I'm having the guys look to see what kind of repairs have been done since 2016 to our drinking fountains that we might be able to apply for.
Oh, so we can recover something we
Yes.
paid for
That's good,
already. Oh, that's good.
Okay, thanks.
I didn't know about that.
I can tell you the Education Foundation provided those water filling stations.
They did it north, yes.
That they were donation to the school.
That's right.
Yes, because I was on the Education Foundation when we donated them.
I got one thing. On 12/9, the banners. Good to see that Brightspeed caught the mistake there.
Yeah, they did.
We were listed as Hunterdon County High School on their banner. Yeah, I'm a nerd. I went through all the banners in Redmond.
I did too.
And you didn't catch Hunterdon County High School?
Didn't.
Oh, okay.
Gosh. I did miss
It might have
that.
been fixed by the time you saw that.
So a little typo on that
Maybe
one.
that's it, yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Dan?
Thanks,
Thanks.
I need a motion and a second to approve agenda items 12.1 through 12.11.
Motion?
Second.
Brian and Cynthia. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Okay, moving on. Community Relations and Student Affairs, Tara?
Thank you. Our committee met on July 17th, virtual at 6 o'clock. Everyone was present except for Jessica and Kim, because they were not able to make it. We discussed our agenda item was the district strategic plan, and Dr. Burgess presented the plan as the draft. There were two types of data, both the qualitative and the quantitative data. The data in the strategic plan is only data from the community members, not their staff. But if you want to have access to that, Dr. Burgess, just reach out to him. But he did mention that there was a synergy between the two, and it was good to see that our staff and the community, on a lot of the questions, were coming from the same place and same observations. The data was overall very positive. We had lots of 3s, 4s, and 5s. We had very good community response, so that was wonderful. And in the plan, all of the points that we went, everyone pretty much attended, either the North or Voorhees, all of those points that we put up on the wall were added into the plan. And that's going to be disseminated in August at some point, and we'll be able to utilize that as we build our goals. Food service and transportations were scored really well. One of the areas that the questions, it seemed that it kind of just fell off, was on our school budget. So one of the things that we discussed is that we might want to, in the future, present a more user-friendly budget or a quick view for the community so they have a better understanding of our budget and the processes that we go through in our stewardship of the taxpayer and stakeholders' monies. We did bring up, Dr. Burgess mentioned that maybe have a strategic planning advisory committee and maybe meeting twice a year with both board members and community and staff. But after Gwen's presentation and looking at these dashboards, I think instead of meeting and having a separate, we put it out there and we can monitor and everybody, and we can get input as a ongoing. So each month, as each part of the strategic plan is touched upon in committee, curriculums, finance, policy, it's real time and it's a full involvement. So that was brought up of maybe making a committee to look at this a couple times a year, but I'm going to present it as that maybe we look at it as doing a dashboard. I think that would be a great way.
And the superintendent reports out quarterly
Yeah.
as well. So
Yeah,
as
exactly.
Rich is doing that, we have a dashboard.
Yeah, so we're looking
A lot
forward
of
to it, and I
questions.
know it's a lot of work, and everybody's been involved, and the community's been involved, so it's been refreshing to see, because after COVID, we kind of, so it's exciting to see, and like some of them, the countdown, so from 5 years out, 2030, and we'll be able to monitor and move, and then when 2030 comes, hopefully we'll get as much input, again, from the community and our students. Our students were involved in it, so it was a great process, and I can't wait to see the end and as we implement it going forward.
Terry, you just gave me the. Oh, I'm
Everybody should have access to that strategic plan. From the board.
As you were talking about that in the dashboard, you made me wonder if the way our current agendas, our committee agendas work, it might be interesting to add an element to that. In other words, like what is coming out of that committee that could feed that dashboard in terms of, is it a data point, is it an update, so that monthly there's sort of this built-in obligation to sort of feed that information and sort of raise our own just awareness of reporting it out regularly too. So that might be an area to possibly explore.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I just have 2 questions. So what's the follow-up now? Like, what's the next step on the plan?
So the next step would be for the board to adopt the plan. I plan on presenting that to the full board in August, but I want to give everybody an opportunity to have some input before we say here's the final plan. So that's what the next move is, basically.
And then I know the staff information wasn't included, but in general, did the staff response look very different from what the community responses were?
You know, they were very similar.
Okay.
That's one of the things
That's
that
what
I
I'm
tried to
still
do in
looking for.
committee, which
Yeah.
was show the similarities between them. There was a couple of things, that were a little different, but not much. So.
Yeah, yeah.
Rich, when you say everyone has access to the plan, that is the doc?
That is
You
the
said
doc
that-
that I linked to.
The plan is that doc?
Correct, yes, that is the plan. And then from that plan, we will develop district goals, board goals, and then action plans that will each year accomplish those district goals, which are going to chip away at the strategic plan goals.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
There was one action item there.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Is the overnight school trip. So we didn't discuss it, but the 18th and 19th, the Voorhees football team is having a team bonding event at Voorhees High School, so we need to vote on that. But they've met all the qualifications for what's considered a field trip or overnight event, so.
They're going to be at Voorhees, but because it's an overnight event, it has to be board approved
Yeah,
as an
exactly.
overnight field trip. So.
Is North doing the same thing?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh, that's interesting. I think it would be a great for, in all sports and all we're talking about bonding events.
Yeah,
I don't know, I guess it's
each sport, they
sport.
have their own activities that they decide are important for their particular sport.
I think that's great.
So yeah, so that's the one that we have to vote on.
Sorry, Terry, yes. I need a motion and a second to approve agenda item 13.1.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, okay, who's arguing?
We just have to have a second so that we can vote.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Okay, delegate reports,
Not
nothing,
applicable.
and nothing until September. Personnel committee report, that would be Christina.
Yes, we met on July 16th at 6:30. Everybody was in attendance for our personnel committee meeting, and we discussed the personnel agenda. In addition to the personnel agenda, which is confidential, we discussed and edited a speech and language specialist job description. So we will be voting on that today. Again, we compared it to the NJSBA template job description, and there weren't too many changes. You can see in a folder the pieces of wording that we decided to change. So if anybody has any questions about that, just let me know. And do we want to add anything else about it?
I don't see any changes.
Yeah, I mean, the reason was basically, it's the amount of services we need, bringing a speech language specialist back on staff is in the best interest of our students.
So is this a new position, Rich?
It isn't. We're
Or it's
reapproving
new-
it.
it's
It was
coming
abolished.
back.
Yeah, it was abolished about 10 years ago, I believe.
So there are no red lines to it, I think. I didn't see
No,
any.
the changes are in
There
there.
There are actually green lines.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Well, they actually look purple and
Is it on an agenda?
Purple, okay.
No, go into your drive.
There's a job.
Oh, it's in
Job
the,
description.
that drive.
Yeah, the one that's on your agenda is a
Yeah.
clean copy that you'll be.
That's what
approved
I
tonight.
was looking at. Okay, my
we
bad.
approved it that time.
And there's everything that was
I,
redlined.
yeah, I'm familiar.
Okay,
Yep,
it was
I can find
updated.
it.
Just a point of clarification, is there a reason, and it doesn't matter that much to me, but is there a reason why those items can't be outside the executive session? When we rewrite a job description, it's not about a person,
Yeah, no.
right?
No, they are, that's why it's on the, we're discussing it.
Okay.
That's what I'm.
That's why she's reporting out on it, it's out, it's
So I guess-
public.
Fine. And the public can see.
They have access to the personnel agenda as well. So it's not like a hidden type thing. It's just discussion of anything. Like we're discussing that right now, we can have here, but we can discuss the actual items, the other items on the personnel agenda.
Sorry.
You could discuss the job and its description, you can't discuss the
Yeah, I just thought
person
it
or
could be
position
in
in
public
public.
session because it's not a person, it's a
Yep, exactly.
It's a thing.
thing.
Additionally, we were planning to do the assistant superintendent job description, but time did not allow, so we are moving that to the August meeting. That'll be the first one we'll do
And
for August.
do we have?
No, that's going to be part of the conversation.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you so much. I need a motion and second to adopt Resolution 072125-2 for an executive session to discuss matters reflected in the attached resolution. The board expects to be in exec session for approximately 1 hour, and upon return to public session, action will be taken. All in favor? Sorry, I do that every single time on that one.
So moved. Second.
There you go, Tara and Cynthia. All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? And I do it on that have a motion and a second to reconvene public session?
Second. Tara's got it.
Well, no, Tara was, Tara and Beth.
Tara.
All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Let's call for a motion and second to approve agenda items 18.1 through 18.4 to include any hand carries if provided. So I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Got that? Christina and Beth?
Yep. Okay.
Any discussion? Nothing? Roll call vote.
Christina Kegno.
Yes.
Brian Chapman.
Yes.
Nicole Gallo.
Yes.
Tara Hintz.
Yes.
Beth Cotron.
Yes.
Tara,
Rich
you need to
Moran?
abstain
Yes.
from the two exec meetings.
Oh, I'm sorry, I have to abstain on 18.3 and 18.4. Thank you.
It's okay, I have to abstain too.
I'm just looking at 18.1. Sorry to make you
No
do
problem.
extra
No
work.
problem.
Your last
Brendan McGuire.
Yes, but I must abstain from 18.3.
18.3. And then Cynthia Wade.
Yes.
Kim Salino.
Yes.
Daniel Spanner.
Yes, abstain from 18.3.
18. And Jesse.
Yes, and I abstain from 18.3.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Okay, moving on. Any old and new business?
Excellent. I wanted to know if we could, based on what we heard earlier, is there a way to look at or study expanding ESY specifically for the autism students? You know, kind of examine the cost. And
my plan based on public comment tonight was to talk with Jen tomorrow.
Okay.
Find out what the, what her recommendation is.
Okay.
And
then is that something that would go to committee to be discussed? You would bring that to committee to discuss, or?
Yeah, it would probably
Or you
go
would-
through curriculum and FFT, because there'll be a cost associated with it as well.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Sort of piggybacking on Dan's comment, something I was curious about. I don't know the extent to which title funds are paying for that programming this summer, but aren't those title funds currently frozen and not?
So Title 2, 3, and 4, which would not pay for those programs, but yeah.
Gotcha.
2, 3, and 4 are what we're held at this point.
Gotcha.
Anything else? Can I have a motion and a second to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
I got yes.
You got it? All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Please note we are out at 8:45.
Seriously?